So this is probably the most curious, challenging aspect of this part of this project. The idea is that we want to create those adaptive points. And it's really just by taking a line, the curve that we've generated, and dividing it up. And we divide them all up the same. So all the divisions are over here as the number of ribs. And we take our three curves, our floor, our mid, and then our NURBS curve, which is the top of the roof. We give it all equal divisions. And then what has to happen is we have to order each one of those so that they're in the same list relationship as the adaptive component. Otherwise, our adaptive components would be getting applied to the lines in linear fashion and everything would look like a disaster. So the idea of putting these in orders is to take the values that come out of the list, and I can't show you because this is a static image, and then pick each one, pick the first item in line 1, the first item in line 2, the first item in line 3, and make a list that way, and then combine those into a way that, and that's just the way of telling it how to do the order, and then do it with the 3 lists that we have. So this is probably a very significant way of understanding how you can manipulate list to benefit what your task might be, which is applying an adaptive panel. So let's start building this. Let's start looking at this curve points at equal segment length. So we'll jump out to Dynamo and we'll try to find that function. Let's see. I don't know if it'll show up in equal segment length. Maybe I have to start with curves. Yeah, there. I think that's the one we want. Equal chord length. Let's see what we set on our. It's equal segment length. Let's make sure we use the same one. Equal segment length. And delete this one. And let's first of all just put one in. And let's do the idea of, let's make another slider. And we'll call this one number of ribs. And we want to make sure we don't go too wild here. We want it to be digits, integers, I'm trying to say. And let's say we'll go to from 1 to 24 ribs. And we'll just make this, we'll just give this a setting right now. And we'll feed that into, and we get our points coming out. And I don't know why we're not visualizing them. Curve point at segment length. So we have the points, I thought, 1 point. Oh, it's segment, I've got the wrong control. Excuse me just a minute here, I'm sorry about this. At equal segment length, points at equal segment length. There we go, I'm sorry. Let's try again. Must have a default value for it. And so now we can control the amount of lines we want to put on any of those. And I'll close this off and we'll line it up with some of our fundamental definitions, the structure height and length and the number of ribs. So that's our first one. We're going to go ahead and copy this down. Feed our next curve into it. And then do this one more time. And feed our next curve into it. So now we can control the number of divisions with each of those lines, and they're going to all have an equal number of segments in it. Okay, so now we have to figure out how to get this to be the first point, this to be the second point, and this one to be the third point. If we were to look at any one of these lists, they're just a list of the 9 points along that line. So we'll go back out and just take a quick peek at what we're talking about doing here. We're going to combine a list, but we're going to take the first item out of this list, the first item out of this list, the first item out of this one, and then sequence them so that our pattern works so that we get the first elements in each one, then the second elements in each one. So we're going to use list create and then list combine. So let's go back to Dynamo. And list combine. All right, and we have, I believe it was, let's look at the definition so we do it. We have 3 items. So we have, and this goes to the ordering, and we might have to, depending on how we make up our adaptive component, we can go, we'll just, excuse me. And we're going to actually combine 3 lists here. I'm going to put this into the combination. Oh, I did that wrong. This has no inputs, it's just a list create. And we'll look at this. And actually I'll make a watch box. And I'll try to zoom in on this area for us. So if we look in, oops, not sure why I can't zoom. Is that all? There we go. All right, so this is really quite important. So the idea is that we're taking those 3 items out of each list, and that's the combination of this list combined, and we take the 3 list. So if we were to look at, if we were to actually select these points, if I click on point 1, I don't know if I can get this to show up in the window. Oops. So point 0 happens to be this point up here. The next point is the one down here, and then the third point is the one over here. So I can reorder this now so that we get it in a better idea of a sequence. So if we want our first point to actually be the bottom one, I think we need to, let's reorder these. So let's put this one here, excuse me, let's put list 3, that's the final one, that's fine. It's really these 2. So let's change the order here. So let's take this one, put it up here, and take this one and put it down there. And then look at what happens. So we have the first point, the second point, and the third point. And then the same thing happens moving 1 and stepping back. And this will go all the way back to the very end of the, so if you look back here now at the back, very back, 0, the last point there, and the last point there. So now we can apply an adaptive component to those 3 points. So I think that's a good amount to bite off for this selection of this clip. So we'll pick up on the next one.